Hey, what's up everybody? This is the Wingman282 here again. Today's video is going to be a tutorial on how to install a mod chip in your Gamecube. So specifically, this is going to be a tutorial on installing the XenoGC. There's a few different ones you can get. There's this one. I think there's another one called the Cube SX or something like that, and then there's a third one. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. By far, this is the most common. If I remember correctly, you can get these on eBay, even though I think that's against eBay rules. You can purchase these on eBay if you really want to. They run about $15, which is not too bad, I guess. If you frequent any forums like Assembler Games or the AutoZone, you can typically get these cheaper from users. I got this one from a guy on the AutoZone for I believe $7.50. That doesn't include shipping because I bought some other things from him, but $7.50 for a mod chip is a very affordable price. And these are by far the most common chips, so they're not in short supply by any means. But yeah, once we get this installed, it's going to give us basic backup functionality. You'll be able to burn games and play them on there. It's also going to make your Gamecube region free, so if you're interested in playing your original import games or backup import games and even backup PAL games, XenoGC can do all that. One note about PAL games, you got to have a TV that supports that, so just a footnote. But yeah, basically region unlocks your Gamecube, lets you play burn games, so very cool device here. So yeah, these are pretty easy to install. I wouldn't call them the most easiest out of all mod chips, but if you take your time and you pay attention to what you're doing, not difficult at all. So we're going to go ahead and disassemble the Gamecube. Going to go ahead and take it apart, and we'll go ahead and install this thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the tools you're going to need to pull this off. So first off, you're going to need some screwdrivers. Of course, I just always use the bit and the driver, but you're going to need a number 1 and a number 2 Phillips head screwdriver, and you're going to need a 4.5mm game bit driver with a deep well bit. This is going to be used for taking the actual case screws out of the Gamecube. If you don't have the deep well bit, you have to have that. I guess you could use the big pin method with a lighter, but I don't do that. I just use the correct tool. You're going to need a soldering iron and some solder to actually, solder the mod chip to the Gamecube. The wire cutters and wire strippers are really optional because there's two methods for installing the chip. There's the wireless method, which you just solder the chip directly to the circuit board, and then there's the wired method where you actually solder wires from the chip to the circuit board. So if you're an absolute noob and you've never installed a Gamecube mod chip before, I would suggest going with the wired method. Just use the wires because it's safer and it's easier. If you make a mistake, it's easier to fix. If you make a mistake with the wireless install, you really do need to have some soldering skills to actually fix that or install it correctly the first time. So if you've never done this before, I would suggest going with the wired method. So have the wire strippers and the cutters for the wires. So now we're going to go ahead and look at the parts you're going to need. So first off, you're going to need your Gamecube, of course. You're going to need your mod chip, of course. If you plan on going with the wireless install, where you just solder the chip directly to the circuit board, an optional item is some Captain tape. Captain tape is just simply heat-resistant tape. Really going to help you out in order to solder that safely. To go along with that, a razor blade helps to cut the tape to whatever dimensions you need. But again, this is optional. I've done it without this and it works fine. It's just that this is kind of like a safeguard, so you don't necessarily need that. It's optional. And if you're going with the wired install, I like to use just 30 gauge wire. That's just, I got a roll of it. I just use it for all my installs for all kinds of mod chips. You can get this on Amazon and on eBay, but if you don't want to spend the money to get that roll, if you have some scrap Ethernet cable lying around, that you're never going to use, you can just definitely take the wires out of that and use that, and it'll work fine. So yeah, that'll save you some money. But otherwise, these are really the parts you're going to need. This is a pretty simple installation. The only thing about it is just you need to take your time and pay attention to what you're doing, and this won't be difficult at all. So we'll go ahead and disassemble the Gamecube now. Alright, so after you've disassembled your Gamecube, go ahead and take the DVD drive off like I did. And this is what we're going to be focusing on when we're installing the Modchip. We're actually installing the chip onto the PCB that the DVD drive attaches to and communicates through. So once you got that taken off, go ahead and flip it upside down, and you see there's like this metal shielding here, and we have some screws that we need to take off. So looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws we need to remove, and then this metal plate actually removes, and then we can actually get to the circuit board underneath. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, and then here is the circuit board that we need to work on. Okay, so right here we're looking at the bottom of the circuit board on the DVD drive, and what we want to focus on is this area right here. This is, for lack of a better word, this is like kind of like an unused debug port, and so basically the chip is going to install in this area here. So when the chip actually solder to the board, it's going to use pins 1, 6, and 10 on this debug port, and it's also going to use this little solder point right here, and then it's going to use the 2 solder points right here. So that's 6 solder points in total, and that's just basically how it installs. So in this video I'm going to be doing the wireless install, which basically means you just take the chip, place it on the circuit board kind of like that, and you just solder it directly to the circuit board, no wires. Again, if you've never done this before, or if you're a noob at soldering, definitely go with the wired install. It's easier. If you make a mistake, it's easier to fix. It's just that this is a little bit less time consuming if you know what you're doing. It kind of looks a little bit cleaner too, so I always go for a clean look, a professional look. That's just kind of my thing. But at any rate, you can do either way. Do either one you want. I'll just be doing it with the wireless install. So basically, the concept is here. We're going to add some solder to the pads first, whatever pads we need to solder to, and then we're going to take our iron and just solder it to each point here on the chip, and we'll be done. But before I do that, I like to take my my Captain tape here, and since on this debug port, since none of the middle contacts in the middle are used, what I like to do is I like to take that Captain tape and cut it to fit this and just tape over that. There is a possibility that when you install the chip, you can get solder on those middle contacts if you're not real careful, and you can short it out like that. This just kind of prevents that. It just makes your job easier, pretty much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tape, cut it with a razor blade, and stick it over these middle points here, so that I just, you know, I can't solder to those, and it won't be a problem. It won't get in my way. Now, as far as a wired install goes, you can really place the chip anywhere. If you wanted to use some double sticky tape, you could do that, or you could use some hot glue. But what I would do, I would just like stick it somewhere where it's where it'll sit flush on the circuit board, like right here beside it. And then I would just take my wires, solder it to each of the points here, and then run it to the appropriate point according to the diagram. Again, it's a little more time consuming, but it is easier if you're not comfortable with soldering directly to the circuit board. Definitely go with the wired install. You know, it works the same way. It's just it's a little bit safer. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put the tape here, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Alright, so I got my little strip of tape cut, so I'm just going to carefully place it over there. Try to get it as lined up as I can, which is not real easy, but it's worth it. There we go. There. So as you can see, we are going to be soldering to this point, and this point. So that's pins 1, 6, and 10. This one we're not going to solder to either, but it's under the chip, so we don't really have to worry about it. You know, it's not a big deal. But 1, 6, and 10 we will be soldering to, and then again we're going to be doing these two, and then this one here on the bottom. So that's it. And as you can see, once we take the chip and kind of place it over there, you can kind of see through these two holes that we can solder directly to pins 6 and 10, and then the 3 in the middle can't really get in the way. We can't solder to those because they're covered by the tape. And then there's this one here right there that we can solder to as well. So yep, that's what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and get this thing installed. Okay, so we're ready to solder. So what we need to do first is we need to add some solder to the points here, so that the chip can pick it up once we apply the heat. So we're going to go ahead and apply solder to 1, 6, and 10, this point here, and then these 2 points here, 6 in total. So there's that one. There it comes. There's that one there. So that should be pretty good. Go ahead and clean up the work area a little bit. Just get the grime off and flux in the solder here. And we'll take our chip. And then we'll place it in. And so at this point, you just need to align the chip in such a way where you feel like all of the solder points will be able to be soldered comfortably. It does take a little bit of alignment, but it's not too bad. Just take your finger or a screwdriver or whatever and just kind of shift it around until you feel like it'll solder in. It's going to be kind of about right there. It's not laying flush because of the solder, but it's not a big deal at this point. So there we go. I believe that'll be okay. Alright, so I'm just going to take my finger and hold it in place. And I'm just going to solder one joint. This is not going to be super easy, but take your time. Just have to get the point in there. Once you get that first point soldered, you're kind of good, because it's going to hold the chip in place for the rest of the points. So I'm just going to solder this point in. I didn't get it that time. Alright, so there's that one. And then you kind of let go, and that'll hold the chip in place while you do the rest of them. Alright, so there's that one. There's that one. And that one's not a very good joint. We'll try it again. There's that one. And then we got these last two here. There's that one. And then we got this last one here. And there's that one. So I am going to go ahead and double check my work off camera. It's kind of hard to double check it on camera because my big head gets in the way, but I'm gonna go ahead and double check this, make sure everything's perfect. If it's not, we'll go back and touch it up. Okay, so I went ahead and checked those out. I wasn't perfectly happy with these two right here, so I just really reflowed them. I didn't really resolder them. I just kind of reflowed them in there, just to make it absolutely perfect. But I checked everything else. Everything looks fine. So right now the chip is installed. Again, if you wanted to install the chip with a wired connection, you just run the wires, and same concept. Just connect the wires. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and test the chip. Really the way you test it is with these two LEDs here. This is a red and an orange LED right here. So when you reassemble the Gamecube, or at least put the DVD drive back on to test it, when the chip powers up, it'll have a red light, and then once it successfully patches the software or the firmware on the DVD drive, the red light will turn off and the orange light will turn on, and that just means it was successful and the chip is functioning normally. If you don't see a red light turn on, or if you see the red light turn on and then turn off and the other orange one does not turn on, you need to go back and check your soldering. That means it's not soldered properly. That being said, you can still get the same successful light sequence and it not be soldered properly. It is possible. So once you test it, test a burn game and see if it'll read it. If you don't have a burn game at the moment, what you can do is you can test an original game, and you can hold the start button while you're booting the game up. And if you see a XenoGC in blue font up at the one of the corners of the screen, that means it's working fine. So that's just another way we can test it. But what we're going to go ahead and do, we're just going to put the DVD drive on the motherboard just to test it and to see if it'll actually see if the machine boots up. And I'll try to get the light sequence on video. It's not going to be easy. It's probably not going to show up correctly on camera, but for the sake of example, I'll go ahead and do that. Hopefully we can see that. Alright, so we're looking at the front of the GameCube here. These are the memory card slots right here, and the light is going to be somewhere around in this area on your screen. So you're probably not going to be able to see this very well, since the red and the orange are very, close in color. But what you're going to see is the red light's going to turn on as the GameCube is turned on. It's going to flick for a split second, and then it's going to turn off, and the orange one is going to turn on. Again, it probably won't show up good well on camera, but just to kind of give you an idea of what to expect, this is what's going to happen. So I'm just going to turn it on. Okay. Again, you probably can't tell the color, but at first the red light was on, it flicked, and then turned off, and then the orange one came on. So we know that the DVD drive has been patched successfully by the mod chip, and that we can go ahead and test a burned game now. So we're going to go ahead and test it right now. Just me personally, I always like to test with a real game first, just to make sure that we are having basic DVD functionality, that it is reading DVDs. Because it might not read your burn game the first time. We just want to make sure that it is functioning. So I'm just going to put an original game on here first, and I just want to see if it'll boot the game, and if it boots it fine, we'll move on to a burn game. So I'll do that real quick. Okay, so it's reading that fine, so we're good on that. So now I have here, this is a burned copy of Soul Calibur 2. We're just going to test this and see if it works. I don't know, I haven't tested this yet, so it might not work the first time, it might. If it doesn't work, we'll go ahead and we'll go into fixing that. Okay, so it did boot it. I don't have a memory card in, so it's asking me, do I want to save? No. Kind of a suggestion about burn games. If you want to test one, I would suggest burning one that has full motion video at the beginning of the game, so you can actually test that functionality. Full motion video streams directly from the disc, so if your burn game is working fine and your laser is working fine, it should, in theory, stream that full motion video off the disc without any problems. So this is what this is. Soul Calibur 2 has full motion video at the very beginning, and I use it as a test game. So I'm just going to go ahead and proceed with the boot, and I just want to see if that full motion video plays through. And I won't let you sit through all that, but I just want to see if it works. So it is booting up, and it's just going to go through its publishers and developers and stuff. And I just want to see if the full motion video actually plays fine, at least for a few seconds. Okay, so it seems to be working fine. So it booted the game. It seems to be working fine. I'll test it a little bit more off camera before we proceed, and I'll show you guys how to adjust the potentiometer for the laser, just in case you are having some issues with your GameCube reading burn games. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to adjust the laser intensity, or adjust the potentiometer, just in case you are having some issues with burn games. So first off, go ahead and take the DVD drive back off of your GameCube. You're also going to need a multimeter with an ohm setting so that you can measure resistance, and you're going to need a jeweler screwdriver in order to turn this potentiometer. So we'll go ahead and zoom in here to the potentiometer, and I'll show you what we're going to do. Alright, so we're going to be focusing on this device right here. This is the potentiometer that we need to change, or variable resistor, whatever you want to call it. So go ahead and get your multimeter, set it to an ohm setting. And what we're going to do, we're going to be measuring, if you're looking at it from this orientation, we're going to be measuring this single bottom point, and then there's two here at the top. We're going to be measuring the one on the right. So this bottom point and this one on the right. And we'll probably come up with something between 300 and 400 ohms. It's going to be different for your Gamecube. There's no way around that. It's going to be different. So there is no magic setting to this. But we want to measure where it is right now. I'm going to go ahead and measure that. Alright, and mine is sitting at 184.4 ohms. So that's our reference point. So what we can do, if you need to increase the power on the laser to actually read a game, what we can do is we can take our screwdriver here and we can turn the variable resistor counterclockwise, so in this direction. An important note is that these are very sensitive, and I mean very sensitive. So you can put this on there, and without even thinking that you've turned it, just by putting pressure on it, you've probably turned it about 50 ohms. It's very sensitive, so I would suggest like just putting some pressure on it. It won't even feel like you've turned it, but in reality when you actually have. So it's very easy to overcompensate or make a mistake here. So when you put that screwdriver in there, just put some pressure on it. Go back and measure it, and it'll probably have dropped maybe 15 or 20 ohms. So yeah, that's just something very important to be aware of. So I'm going to go ahead and do that as a demonstration. Don't really need to on this one, but just for the sake of the video, I'll go ahead and show you. So I'm just going to take my screwdriver, place it in there. It's not a perfect fit, but that's okay. As long as we can get some sort of grip, it'll be all right. So I'm going to be turning this counterclockwise, and I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure on it. Let's see if that did it. Alright, yep, that was a successful turn. So I just dropped it about maybe 10 ohms, 15 ohms. Again, it doesn't even feel like I turned it, but it did drop. So that's just a basic overview of how you do that. What I would suggest is when you make a change to that, when you drop it 10 or 50 ohms, go ahead and test it again with your burn game. See if it works. If it does, and you've actually thoroughly tested with a full motion video and everything, I would say go ahead and leave it there. Also, go ahead and test some original games if you have any, just to make sure that it's fully functional, and then you're done. Okay guys, so now that we've got the Gamecube fully functional now, it's reading both the originals and the burn games, I want to take a minute and talk to you about buying DVDs for it. So the Gamecube is one of those systems that it really doesn't like to read cheap media. Memorex is just not going to cut it. It doesn't like to read the cheap stuff. You really have to go out of your way and buy good quality media in order for your Gamecube to read your burn games. And that does go for some other consoles as well, especially the PS1. PS1's super picky, but anyway, you do have to get high quality discs. So you can't really go to Best Buy or Walmart and get good quality media, because mostly all they sell is Memorex, and that's about it. Memorex is just the cheap stuff. It works fine for most cases, but for burning games, it doesn't really work that well. So you have to get good stuff. So what I was using in the video for Soul Calibur 2 and what this is right here, these are Rydata mini DVDs. These are DVD minus R specifically. I got a 50 pack of these on Amazon for I think it was about $25 shipped. Overall, it's not too bad. I mean, you are paying maybe 50-75 cents per disc, so price isn't that bad, I guess. But yeah, you really do have to get a good quality disc for your GameCube. Now that you do have the option of burning games to full-size DVDs. Now, a full-size DVD is not going to fit in here. There are modifications you can make to make them fit. Like you can cut big chunks of the case out, but I don't recommend that because one, it's ugly, and two, it lets a lot of dust inside the system. So I just stick with the mini DVDs. But yeah, overall, get good quality media. If you skimp out and get cheap stuff first, you're just going to waste your money. So just the first time, get good quality media. But overall, we're done, guys. I mean, XenoGC install, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. If you're not real comfortable with doing the wireless install, you definitely do the wired. It just takes a little bit more time, but overall it's the same process. You just got to match up the wires with the points in the diagram. So yeah, really easy, guys. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. Take care.